All right, today we're going to talk about how to solve y equals x squared plus bx plus c by factoring. Our essential question, how are factors used to graph quadratic equations? So first, what are factors? They're any number or any numbers that multiply to make a third number. So for example, if you had the number 12, you can do this off to the side. You could list out just any two numbers that multiply to make 12. 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. When you're finding factors using the calculator, you're looking for the x-intercepts of a graph, which I will show you how to do in a little bit. They're also called zeros. You may also see them called roots. So let's look at an example. The first pair that we have to, or the first quadratic equation that we have to factor is x squared plus 14x plus 48. You always want to factor the c term, or the back number. So I'm going to write out the 48, and I'm going to list all the numbers that multiply. I'm going to say the integers that multiply to make 48. So 1 and 48, 2 and 24, 3 and 16, 4 and 12, 5 doesn't work, but 6 does, and that's our list. So when we're factoring, we want to look for the pair that, yes, multiplies to make 48, but it adds to make our middle number of 14. For us, terms we would add to make 14 are 6 and 8. So we would factor this as y equals x plus 6 and x plus 8. So that's step 1. Step 2, it does say solve. So when it says solve, we have to set y equal to 0. So we're going to have 0 equals x plus 6 times x plus 8. And then we're going to set up and solve two different equations, one for each factor pair. So 0 equals x plus 6 and then you also want to do 0 equals x plus 8. Solve both equations for x, and we should get that, write that a little better up top. But we should write that x equals negative 6 or x equals negative 8. Okay. For the next example, we're subtracting the back term. That means we're going to have one positive term that we're looking for and one negative. And then because we're subtracting the middle term, the bigger number will take the sign in the middle. So for all the factor pairs we write out, the bigger number should have a negative sign with it. So I'm going to factor out the number negative 18. 1 times 18 makes 18. And again, you want to give the bigger number the negative sign because our middle term is negative. So 2 and negative 9 is next. And then 3 and negative 6 is last. We want to look for the pair that adds to make negative 3, which is right here. And this one only says factor. It didn't say solve. So we could just leave it at y equals x plus 3 times x minus 6. All right. Next, we want to factor r squared plus 2r minus 63. So again, this one didn't say solve, it just said factor. Factor out the number negative 63. We are adding the middle term this time. So this time the smaller number gets the negative sign because we want the bigger number to be positive. So negative 1 and 63, negative 3 and 21, and then negative 7 and 9. The pair that adds to make positive 2 is negative 7 and 9. So we would have y equals r minus 7 times r plus 9. Okay. Next, we have x squared minus 9x minus 5. So we can factor out the number negative 5. We're subtracting the middle term. So we have 1 and negative 5. Well, that doesn't add to make negative 9. And I can't think of any other factors for 5. So this is an example of when you would want to use the graphing calculator to find what your factors are. So I already loaded the equation into the graphing calculator, but you want to type in x squared minus 9x minus 5, and then click on the graph button. Now we want to calculate when y equals 0, what does x equal? So we have to hit the second key and then calculate. And we want to select the option, second one down, that says 0. So the first option you have is left bound. And normally this would be on the left for you, but because I already went through it, it was on the right for me. So for left bound, I want one of my y values to be positive, and I want it to be really, really close to the x-axis. So we have 0.8. Can we get closer, staying positive? Looks like we can't. So for the left bound, I'll select 0.821. Then for the right bound, I'll click to the right one time. I'll hit enter, and the graphing calculator will estimate for me. When y equals 0, x is about negative 0.525. I'm going to round there, but negative 0.525. I want to do the same thing for that second y-intercept. So I'm going to scroll, I'm going to do second calc. And I want to calculate the 0. So now for the left bound, I want to go to the right as far as I can. And I want to get as close to the x-axis as I can while still staying negative. So y is still negative. Oh, and now it's positive, so I need to go back one. That's my left bound, so I'll hit enter. I'll go to the right again. Now I'm in the positive range, so I'll hit enter again. So when y is 0, x is about 9.525. So we've solved for the zeros, but we still need to factor it. So we're going to write y equals for the first x value, we're going to write x plus 0.525. And then for the second, we're going to write x minus 9.525. Because if we were to substitute our x values in now, they would make our equation equal to 0, and that's what we want to happen. So if you do have to factor using the graphing calculator, when you write your equation in factored form, just remember to change the sign. All right, that's all for part 1. Part 2, we're going to talk about factoring special products.